Okay, it's been quite a while since I've done any kind of videos. I think it was June of last year that I did my last video, so here on my very last day of winter break before school starts again, I figured I should finally get around to doing another video because it has been far too long and I know I've received a lot of requests to make more videos. Um, so here you go. Um, oh, and one thing, if you want to talk to me, send me a personal message because I don't respond to comments because I get so many of them. But if you have like any questions for me or anything about Asperger syndrome or anything else, I don't care. Just send me a personal message and I'll get back to you to the best of my ability. But anyway, I wanted to talk about panic attacks and how they relate to Asperger syndrome because from what I've seen, and certainly in my own experience, panic attacks are kind of part of the whole package of having Asperger syndrome. At least most of the people I've seen. Maybe not for everybody. It probably just depends on the individual person to an extent, but certainly in my case, I've had to deal with them for years, and I've known people who've had to deal with them, and they're not fun. Um, Definitely, I can say they're not fun, but I think the very first time I ever had a panic attack was long before I knew I was on the autism spectrum. I think I was just finishing middle school. I was getting ready to go into ninth grade, freshman year at my high school, and I think it was like the week before school started. I just had like a complete, total panic attack, and I didn't know what it was. Um, my heart was palpitating, and me being the young, naive kid, thought I was having a heart attack because I didn't know what panic attacks were. Didn't know that that was a thing. And I remember freaking out and telling my parents that I think that I'm dying, and they didn't do anything about it, which in retrospect is kind of questionable that they didn't even bother with it. But anyway, considering the circumstances, now I can understand why I was having it because, I had been in a middle school of maybe 20 or so kids in my entire grade. And, it was a private school, and I was going from a private school to a public school, which was like completely a culture shock for me. Going from maybe 20 kids to hundreds of kids. And I wasn't ready for it. I didn't know what to expect. I'd been in the same school for the past 8 years, and here I was being thrust into this whole new environment, so, yeah, I didn't know what to expect, and I think that's partially what brought on the panic attack. And the second time I had it was, I think the summer before going into college. Again, it was a complete change of environment, and I was experiencing a lot of emotions at the time, and both anticipation, excitement, and nervousness. Um, just a weird combination of things, leaving all the people that I had known in high school and, you know, getting out of my comfort zone. Not to say high school was comfortable. If you saw my other video on high school, you'll know that I completely disdain high school, have a complete sense of detest for it, and I think that high schools should be either completely reformatted or done away with completely. But that's that video. That's a different topic. But by the way, if it looks like my face is changing color, it's because the wallpaper on my desktop is changing. I've got it set to change like every minute, so the reflection is changing the color of my face. But anyway, I've been experiencing a lot of panic attacks recently. I think, well, it's due to a lot of things. It was a really stressful uh, past few months for me. Not just dealing with school, but dealing with a lot of personal issues and issues with certain people that, caused me a lot of stress. And, yeah, it was just a really strange set of sensations. Like, when you think about it from a completely logical perspective, it makes no sense at all. Because, like, I'll give you an example. Like, one night I was laying in bed, and I think I was laying on my stomach, and I could feel my heart beating, uh, beating on the blankets and everything. And for some reason, I was like, I think I was afraid, or at least subconsciously afraid, that my heart was just gonna stop, or that it was like an irregular beat. I mean, I knew that it's an autonomous process. I don't have to willfully force my heart to beat. But, like, I was hearing the beats and, like, counting the beats, and it was like, it was causing me a sense of panic because I thought that maybe my heart was not beating right, or maybe it was just gonna die on me at some point. It's a really weird thing to think about, but the very thought of it caused my heart to beat faster, so it kind of exponentially increased the sense of panic, which is, I know it's like a really weird sensation, and it doesn't make sense at all, I'll admit that, but still, it was just a really weird feeling, and not pleasant or comfortable at all. And then another really weird one was the sensation that maybe my muscles were just like gonna stop working, and that I was just gonna collapse into like a big blob of skin and bone and blood and organs, and like no muscles at all. This could have been because I've been like weightlifting, and my muscles are like, a lot of times they're hurting because they're repairing themselves, but I think maybe that was a possible factor for this kind of sensation. But I think panic attacks are, I well, in the sense of the autism spectrum, I think panic attacks are in part brought on by that super sense of awareness, that heightened sense of touch and feeling, and a lot of sensitivity to like tactile and everything. But I think that can kind of enhance panic attacks depending on what your mind does with these sensations that you feel, because a lot of them are not familiar, and it might lead people to believe that something is wrong, or it's some weird health problem, or that they're dying or something. But yeah, I would assume that most of the time these sensations are just normal and only heightened because you're on the autism spectrum, and you can feel certain things more strongly than neurotypicals. But I think just taking those feelings and placing them in a context inside your mind that is negative can bring about panic attacks. Or at least that's my theory. The mind is like a raging wildfire, or at least mine is. I have a very loud brain, and it's kind of hard to control it and rein it in and focus my thoughts. And things like meditation, I guess, can help. And I really would like to meditate more than I do, because I really don't do it enough. But yeah, really, it's all in the mind, I think, the panic attacks. And if you can focus your mind and not entertain these kind of thoughts that would induce panic attacks, then I think that's a good way of controlling them.